The polished marble floor of the executive conference suite reflected the afternoon sunlight as Lena Carter stepped inside, where 3 senior executives were already waiting with folders neatly arranged before them, and a silent security officer standing near the door. Without offering a greeting, Chief Operations Officer Marcus Hale slid a printed report across the table, showing several photographs of Lena entering the offices of another technology company after business hours, then calmly announced, "We have concluded that your outside activities violate the trust expected of our leadership team, and today will be your final day with North River Digital." While the Human Resources Director nodded, as though the decision had been settled long before Lena walked through the door. Instead of protesting, Lena quietly removed her employee badge, placed it beside the report, and replied with an unexpected smile, "Perhaps it's time I dedicated my energy to an organization that actually wants it," a response that briefly erased the confidence from every face around the table. The executives had prepared themselves for an emotional confrontation filled with excuses and desperate bargaining, but her peaceful acceptance unsettled them far more than anger ever could, because none of them realized that, at that very moment, the crushing burden of carrying an entire technology division alone had finally disappeared from her shoulders. As security escorted Lena to her office, whispers spread through the open workspace while coworkers paused their conversations to watch one of the company's most dependable employees quietly pack a few personal belongings, including a faded notebook, a family photograph, and a small cactus that had somehow survived years beside glowing computer monitors. Before leaving, the HR director demanded every password and technical document related to the company's infrastructure, and Lena calmly explained that all official documentation had already been uploaded to the internal knowledge library exactly as company policy required, carefully avoiding any mention that the documents could never replace years of practical experience and countless unwritten decisions, stored only in her memory. Outside the headquarters, a cool breeze greeted Lena as she breathed more freely than she had in years, and within seconds her phone buzzed with a message from Noah Grant, the engineering director she had met during an international technology summit several weeks earlier, asking whether she was still interested in discussing a permanent leadership position. Looking back one final time at the towering glass building where she had sacrificed countless nights, weekends, and holidays, Lena replied, "I'm available now," unaware that the decision made inside that conference room had already started a chain of events that would force her former employer to confront years of ignored warnings, neglected employees, and leadership built on short-term thinking rather than lasting resilience. 5 years earlier, Lena had accepted an offer from North River Digital because the company promised to build one of the country's most advanced cybersecurity innovation centers, complete with specialized teams, cutting-edge research, and opportunities to mentor rising engineers who shared her passion for solving impossible problems. During her interviews, executives enthusiastically described a workplace where collaboration mattered more than titles, yet those promises slowly disappeared as budget reductions eliminated open positions, experienced specialists resigned without being replaced, and project deadlines multiplied, until Lena found herself performing the work of an entire department, while leadership continued insisting that additional hiring would happen next quarter. Despite impossible workloads, Lena refused to lower her standards because she understood that every overlooked vulnerability represented real businesses, hospitals, and families whose private information depended upon systems they would never see. So she spent countless evenings developing stronger security frameworks while documenting every improvement in remarkable detail. Whenever she requested additional engineers, fair compensation, or dedicated training programs to reduce dependency on one individual, senior management praised her commitment instead of approving meaningful changes, and every carefully prepared presentation outlining long-term risks disappeared into meeting minutes that produced applause, promises, and absolutely no action. Everything changed after Lena was invited to deliver a keynote presentation at an international innovation forum, where her discussion about collaborative security design attracted the attention of Noah Grant, Vice President of Technology for the rapidly expanding company Summit Horizon Systems, whose reputation for investing in employees had become well known throughout the industry. Rather than asking confidential questions about her employer, Noah spent hours exchanging ideas about leadership, mentorship, and sustainable engineering cultures before eventually saying, brilliant technology only survives when knowledge belongs to the team instead of a single expert. A philosophy that resonated deeply with Lena because it reflected everything she had been fighting to achieve for years. When Lena officially joined Summit Horizon Systems the following Monday, she was welcomed not with impossible expectations, but with a carefully planned orientation introducing her to a diverse group of experienced professionals whose expertise complemented one another instead of competing for recognition, making her realize how unhealthy her previous environment had truly been. As the team enthusiastically debated new ideas around a whiteboard filled with colorful diagrams and ambitious plans, Lena felt genuine optimism replacing years of exhaustion, while across the city the systems she had once maintained without adequate support quietly began encountering predictable complications that had nothing to do with sabotage and everything to do with leadership ignoring repeated warnings that no organization should ever depend entirely on one exhausted employee. On the third day after Lena's departure, the consequences of years of neglected planning became impossible to ignore as North River Digital's automated monitoring systems began reporting widespread synchronization failures that disrupted critical business operations across multiple regions, leaving technical teams scrambling to diagnose problems they only partially understood because the knowledge-sharing initiatives Lena had repeatedly proposed had never been fully implemented. Throughout the morning, her phone filled with increasingly urgent messages from former executives asking her to return immediately. While one voicemail admitted, "We underestimated how much responsibility you were carrying, and we desperately need your guidance," yet Lena chose to remain focused on leading her new team, rather than revisiting an environment that had ignored every warning she had patiently delivered. By afternoon, North River's board of directors launched an emergency review after major clients demanded explanations for service interruptions that damaged confidence in the company's reliability, prompting several senior leaders to resign as investigators uncovered years of postponed staffing requests, deferred modernization projects, and repeated internal reports predicting exactly the type of crisis that had now unfolded. Instead of celebrating her former employer's struggles, Lena felt genuine concern for the hardworking employees and customers caught in the middle, quietly telling Noah, "No one wins when leadership mistakes dedication for unlimited capacity," and he replied, "Then let's build an organization that proves there is a better way." Determined to turn difficult experiences into lasting improvements, Lena led Summit Horizon Systems in creating a company-wide mentorship program where every critical process was shared across multiple teams. Every major decision was carefully documented, and every employee was encouraged to teach others rather than protect knowledge for personal advantage, transforming collaboration into the organization's greatest competitive strength. Months later, while Summit Horizon North River slowly rebuilt under new leadership that openly acknowledged past mistakes, proving that sustainable success depends not on finding irreplaceable individuals but on creating workplaces where respect, preparation, and teamwork allow everyone to thrive together. Lena often reflected on how one painful ending had unexpectedly become the beginning of a far more rewarding journey, realizing that true professional success is measured not only by build systems strong enough to outlast any single person, leaving a legacy of trust instead of dependence,